I've sort of devoted my life to learning about the figure and paint and all these formal qualities in order to be able to like dismantle them.
Kind of trying to paint things from as I see them, as I'm engaged in the world, from my own perspective.
Disrupted realism, which is not a style, I want to be careful about that, but it's about hybridity. There's tremendous hybridity. And I'm interested in work that leaves space for my imagination because it's not definitive, because it's left some mystery for me. And that's what these artists are doing.
This session is called Disrupted Realism, and we have John Seed, Zoey Frank, and Santiago Galeas with us here.
So what is disrupted realism? It really is an assembly of individual painters who are finding that what you and I would call straight realism, objective or mimetic realism, isn't adequate to express their feelings about their life and their experience and their perceptions.
So that's some of how that disruption has started to happen, I think, both thinking about this kind of flattening of space and thinking about kind of a more kind of collage space of almost like a quilt or a collage where these forms are kind of pushing together. The forms in the back are pushing forward, the forms in the front are starting to dissolve, and we get some more ambiguity in the space. And then also thinking about this aspect of how I can be engaged with my own process of making the painting, so that making the painting feels like this act of discovery and investigation.
My big mission is to kind of paint my community's these like kind of portraits. I want to sort of bring up the people that I feel haven't been as seen as I would have liked in art history.
At the heart of these experimentations with disruption is a desire to investigate and create different states of equilibrium between the allure of the materiality of the paint and painting's potential to address urgent questions about our experience of the world. But I love this idea of the activation of the surface through the strata of the mark making, and how that then, and it's really linked to both of your work, and how that actually makes the emotions that you feel and the identities and the explorations, the active explorations, palpable on the surface.
If I'm as engaged as I can possibly be in the work, if I can find a way of working that feels like it activates me, that more of myself will get into the painting, and that will make the work stronger and more my own, and that people will respond to that.
But I do think that artists are very, very good at feeling the world around them and telling us things that we couldn't be told any other way.
For me, that's sort of the motivating factor, is that this painting is sort of bigger than, well, I'd like to think of it as bigger than myself and bigger than this person. It's about representation, someone seeing themselves in this image. I find myself constantly digging into my own identity, and then talking to the people that I'm talking to, and just kind of finding the spaces in which we both fit in this world and then don't fit in this world. And
now, as we're coming back to representation, we're having the first chance for people of color, queer people, women to get to kind of express the world representationally from their point of view for the first time.
I can heavily identify with someone who's coming in and is like queer, Latinx, first generation American, and these it's like a very small population, and particularly in the arts, like all these different facets of a person's identity, and like what comes forth in a portrait, what's important, what should be emphasized. It's a balancing act.
How can I kind of bring those two kind of somewhat opposing forces together in a way that feels kind of genuine to my own experience as I'm observing the world?
And portraiture has always been a collaboration. In any portrait, to some degree, the artist is there and the subject is there. And it sounds like what your process is allowing you to do is to be, extremely personal and vulnerable, but also overt about your goals. And that makes the art so relevant, so powerful for this moment in our social and political history.
It's the spaces of collision where you suddenly see the spaces in between and you realize that you have to also activate yourself to be part of this conversation and the restructuring.
There's so much at stake with what I'm doing. If I'm going to be an artist, I have to say something. I have to be really intentional about what I'm doing and who it's for.
The way in which paintings almost transmit that energy and the mark making of painters through time, and how there's this kind of agency that's embodied in the work, which is really quite fascinating.
Letting these things kind of slip and kind of slide between being things that I can grab onto and things that are just paint and just surface. And I think that dynamic relationship just like pulls me in.
That's just like kind of magical to be able to see like how much you can capture in this like really expressive mark with emotion as well as like an actual physicality.